right, so Savannah and I are here together because Savannah said, let's do a fairy tale class so we could explore them together. So I thought it would be great if the two of us got in on together and she could maybe come up with some questions or comments, and all of you could find out a little bit more about the fairy tales class. So we're going to be having this class starting February 3rd, if I got that correct, 2026. And we're going to do it for 2 hours in the afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's Montreal, New York, Miami time zone. So you'd have to figure out where you're at to join us. And you can go to leurbanretreat.com. That's my website, and um, go to the section where you can get services, and in services you'll see group work, or you could scroll down on the first page to the bottom. I think it's at the bottom, and just click on it. It's only $30 a class, so we started off really cheap. So this first time around, let's say for maybe the first 6 classes, we'll keep it that way. But if it's super popular and we want to continue after 6 weeks, we may change the format. We'll see how it goes. So join up on that, and then we also have a group. I forgot the price now. Do you remember, Savannah, the group work? If you take 2 or 3 classes, I think it was.
Oh, $50 a month. So
So it's
$30
$50 a month for 2 classes per month. So it's bi-weekly. So if you do one, it's $30. But if you pay for 2, you're already registered, you have the link, then you can go in. So we're going to be doing this class on Zoom. Okay, so those are the little details. And you can write me at leurbanretreat@gmail.com. And if you want to give your email, you'll let me know, Savannah, or I could just forward it to you. So
Yeah, maybe we could put it in the notes at the bottom.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, so what's something you'd like to hear about?
Um, well, maybe we'll just start off in like what is the course, and what is the fairy tales course, and what happens during a typical session on Zoom.
So the way I formatted is we could read a story. One of my favorite stories, fairy tales, is Cinderella. I love Cinderella. I mean, after I'm about 66 years old, and after probably 60 years of watching Cinderella, I think I said earlier, Mom read me the books, of course. Um, and people would always say, "Oh, it's about happily ever after getting married." I went, "Really? That's what you think this story's about? Okay, that's definitely not the ending. That could be a sort of moment where something ends for us, but then we're going to start our new journey." So when I think of a fairy tale, it's segments of our lives where our morality is shown, where we see all the big mistakes, like Pinocchio. Pinocchio has to become a real boy, much like we as children need to become real people. We need to be people who can live with others, that we can interact with other people, that we're not going to end up criminals and in jail like Pinocchio does. And the day that he actually becomes a real boy, or post that moment, is when he realizes all the things he's done. He's gone into the into became a mule. He becomes a mule, and he's thrown in the ocean, and his skin's eaten off. He swims to shore, goes back to Geppetto, to his father, and realizes Geppetto is gone. So he has to go back out and find Geppetto. Now, that was a big choice he had to make, a huge choice. And he did it. He took that heroic journey to go find his father, finds his father, almost dies, and then wakes up the next day as a real boy. Well, think about your journeys. How many times? I can think of millions of times in my life where I was so immature and unaware of what my responsibility was to others, to myself. Others, I seem to, in my, there are a lot of people like me who tend to be more responsible to others than oneself. But how many times I wasn't responsible to myself, but learning through my responsibility towards others how to finally be responsible for myself. So I got into some different problems, situations in my life, which I'm sure everyone gets into. I got into dangerous situations because, happy-go-lucky, innocent girl goes off into the world. It's like, oh, I'm in trouble now, right? And you learn and you become a real person, and you don't become resentful, you don't become hateful, you don't become defensive towards the world. You go out and realize, all right, I've learned something. I'm more responsible now. I know how to behave and act, and I know what choices to make. Now, Cinderella, being another type of story, is about the feminine. And, so many people say, oh, it's all about a woman looking for a man. Well, wait a minute. There's a guy looking for a girl, too. They're both looking for each other. So what are they looking for? Aren't they looking for the complementary component of two people that come together and complement each other? So how many times do we do this? We do it with our sister. We do it with our brother. We do it with mom when we go out. We do it. Sure, you can do it with your boyfriend, girlfriend. You can do it with your husband, wife. You can do it with a business partner. Right? You can go into business with someone, and that masculine and feminine has to work together. So when you think of, I'm female, so masculine and feminine within me, and sometimes I'm more heavily in my masculine. Means I'm focused, I'm blocking everything out, I'm very orderly, and my partner says to me, he looks at me and goes, okay, I'll just wait till you get back into your feminine. And I'm like, what? What? And then I realized, I got these little hard edges and I'm super focused, whereas the feminine floats through everything. Not to say that my feminine pleases him all the time, because I tend to float through everything. He's like, what are you doing? Why are you all over the place? Because he's in focus mode. So when you're looking at these different bits and pieces of yourself, plus we have so many characters, don't we? We have
Yeah.
we have like, you have the mom character, you have the wife character, you have the daughter character, you have all these personalities that run through you. You're creative, you're a chef, you're a cook, you're a healer, but none of those things make us up. So this really supports when we go through these fairy tale. I know I've gone over like the question you asked me, how are we going to do it? We'll read a story and then we're going to go through this massive exploration. Of course, I have some insights, but you will too. And so will everyone else in the group. It's so wonderful to be in a dynamic class where everyone is interacting. You don't have to talk if you don't want to, of course. Nobody has to speak. You could sit back. You can even lay down on the floor and fall asleep. There's a lot of learning that goes on that way. Where, again, a class operates almost like one unit, but each person is a different character from the unit. It doesn't mean they're like that in their lives. So sometimes there's the talker, sometimes there's the person who answers questions, sometimes the person who knows every symbol going on, and we learn so much from each other. Plus, each and every one of us has a different experience, and some of us have overcome. Some of us have taken the hero-heroine journey through life, and some of us have not yet gotten there, or we're in the middle of the journey that is not the hero. So one of the things, I know I'm not even letting you talk, ask me
That's
questions,
okay. No, it's okay.
but
It's
one of the things I was thinking about is that, the reason why I explored this, well, number one, fairy tales, were something that I got very lost in as a child, and they would kind of terrify me at the same time as I kind of was a bit of a dark kid, like I could manage, horror movies. I could manage the darkness because I felt like, people were dark. So there's a part of me very intuitive, and I could pick up things. So I thought, people are dark, but these are great ways to deal with your darkness. Like the book, There's No Such Thing as a Dragon. When I would see My friends and their parents would be kind of lying to them. I'm not saying here that one should tell a child everything. No, but out and out lying, many kids sense it. Some kids, maybe not sense it at all. That's fine, but you would know your child, and some kids just know you're lying. It's better off to find a different way to explain something, and of course not reveal the whole thing, because it could be too much for the child, right? I grew up in a time where myself and my friends parents were going through, let's say, divorce became popularized in the 60s and 70s, and during that period the moms were becoming friends with their kids. So before that, you weren't the friend with your child.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, we weren't. Like before the 60s, you weren't your child's friend. You were the parent parenting and showing them what to do and how to deal with life. But in my generation, you were friends, and a little weird thing occurred. The child became the confidant of the parent, but also the advisor. Now you got a 30, 40-year-old, well, around 40-year-old woman with their 16 to 23-year-old, let's say in and around that age, 20 years apart. The 16-year-old too. I was 16, being my mother's confidant and giving her advice. Ridiculous. At the time I thought it was really important, but when I look back, I go, that's ridiculous. How do you ask a 16-year-old advice, about how you should run your life and your relationship? It's just not healthy. So obviously everything in moderation. It's a really fine line between I'm going to lie versus how do I tell this story versus I'm going to burden my child with all my issues and ask them for advice. You can see these differences. In any case, what I was trying to point out, I already forgot, but just showing the differences between eras, right? So when we were kids, when we were young, we didn't have that. Now there's more of a hovering parenting, right? You homeschool, so it's not as much, but a lot of parents are hovering around everything. Even kids that are bullied, they're not exactly taught how to deal with the problem. The parent often goes in and starts to deal with the bully through the school, and everyone gets involved. And meanwhile, so there's a fine line there. I'm not giving any advice on this either. I just look at it and see, okay, well, some of the things weren't working out, and some of them are, getting resolved, and some are not working. So our fairy tales have changed over time in their interpretation based on what's going on in the world. But should they be changed is a big deal.
Yeah.
And I don't think so.
No,
I think that if something's lasted for a few, many hundreds of years, we don't need to change it. We need to keep those as sort of a standard. Now, somebody will say, well, culturally, I don't buy it. A lot of these fairy tales they're not from America or Canada. We do have Canadian and American fairy tales, they exist, but they come from Europe. There's so many from Greece, India, right? China. There's so many different stories, and yeah, the names and the places may change, but the story is relatable to anyone. So when you hear the chop wood carry water story, where a man is working out in the country and he's chopping wood and carrying water, all right, and he's dreaming, oh, I would love so much to go to the city. I'd like to have more money so I could have more things, so I could have more convenience. So he does. He goes to the next village and he starts working there, and he becomes more and more successful. Then he goes to a bigger town and he gets to the town and he's more and more successful. Till finally he's in the big city and he works really hard and he makes tons of money. He's a very wealthy man now. And what does he dream of? He goes and buys a house in the country. He's chopping wood, carrying water.
Yeah. Yeah.
It always makes me cry because, I can feel that, people often ask, how do these stories heal? Well, you just saw how telling this story still brings, it's not just me, but the people I know who are dissatisfied with their lives and they've come to the end and they don't have the wherewithal to say, I just need to live a simple life. They're still stressing, they're thinking of the past rather than, hey, you got flowers around you. You don't need to do anything complex. You don't need it to be really big. And it really saddens me when we don't realize that at some point we need that to go back to that simplicity. And also, teachers like Krishnamurti, he's got a beautiful talk on desire and how we want something. It doesn't mean we're not going to want something like Cinderella wants, well, she's very kind, which is such a beautiful thing to see how kind she is without any resentment. I mean, that is a lesson and a half. This girl is taken over, her mother dies, then her father dies. She's left with a stepmother and two awful sisters. And we can't, for 1 minute, think that uh, people like that don't exist. It's such a great way to know those people exist in our lives. You might be one of them, right? So
Yeah.
people like that exist. People who are jealous, people who will take things from you, people who will take something and leave you with nothing. And usually what happens is someone becomes hateful, resentful, underhanded, tricky. To Cinderella? No, no, she's still kind. She still serves them. She still cares for them. She still gives. And the only thing she does is says, well, I'm going to create my own independence. I'm going to do something that is against their wishes, right? But she's disguised as well, right? Nobody recognizes her when she gets the dress together. And then she does it herself. She sews the dress herself from her mother's dress, and they rip it. They rip it apart. So she can't go. And then, of course, the magic occurs, right? Thinking about those moments of magic. I'm just giving a little synopsis on all of these bits and pieces, but also the healing that occurs when we realize it's part of all of life that terrible things can happen to us, and it's our choice which direction we're going to go. So if life is difficult, right, it's difficult, you find things are very difficult, well, what is it you need to do? Well, you need to be just like Cinderella. She goes out to figure out how she's going to put together a dress to get there, same as getting a job. You might go out to try to get a job and you'll be knocked down. You'll told you're unqualified, you can't do it. And then as you're leaving, you're downtrodden, you feel horrible, but you have no time for resentment or hate. And all of a sudden you look up and you see a perfect job for you standing in front of you. I remember in 1995, I returned from my journeys, and I'm in Montreal, and I want to do intuitive readings, I want to do healing, I want to do tarot, all these different things that, kind of my life was leading towards. And I had, I had very little money left, and something was telling me to go for a walk. And I said, okay, I love walking. I could walk 3-4 hours. So I walk around and I come upon a staircase, and I actually an awning that leads to a staircase, and I just stopped. And I said, no, no, no. I looked up and I went, oh my God, it's a magical mélange magique. It was called Magical Blend. It's a bookstore and it has tarot cards. It has all kinds of things. And I went, no, 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 I don't want to go in there. But I could feel a hand, her hands just pushing me to go up. I could feel it. I went, oh, come on. I have no money. I have nothing. This is ridiculous. I shouldn't be going into a store. Anyhow, of course, I go up because I trust that intuitive sense. And I go up and I walk inside. And I'm like, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? Anyway, I'm looking around. I'm like, oh, God. I love books. When I'm around books, I buy too many. So I'm like, don't look too much. Don't look at something else that you are not interested in. So I was looking at these objects, and the girl who was working at the store walks up to me and she said, uh, "Who are you?" It's like, well, that's an odd question for a salesperson to ask. And I said, I'm a tarot reader. She goes, "Oh, so cool. Yeah, we have people doing tarot readings here. Just hang out, do whatever you need to do." And she leaves, and the manager says, "She's a tarot reader. We need one. The other one left. Tell her to come in." So she says, "Oh, would you like to come for an interview?" I said, "Sure." And I went for an interview, and there started my career in healing courses, all kinds of stuff. Massage therapy, I went in all kinds of different directions to international instructor. So um, those kinds of things, if you are not filled with the sense of, how am I going to do this? How am I going to make this work? Those fairy tales show you, don't sit there with resentment, nor self-pity, nor what is wrong with my life. You're looking at what is there, what is good. And yeah, you're going to have a conversation like I had. "Oh, I can't go up there." But I said, "No, I'm going to listen to the hand. I'm not going to listen to my head." So I went up. And that's another thing we can start to see evolve, is once we clear some of the clutter, like Cinderella is clear. And she listens to her mother, by the way. Her mother tells her to be good. Her mother tells her to be kind. And she follows her mother's advice. And that's so important, where the proper teachings coming down in your life benefits, until eventually she meets her. Well, we can discuss that in the course, what happens with, what is the male female all about. I always found that super interesting, because I was always watching relationships fall apart, and I'd wonder, that's not the way it's supposed to be. And no, you don't need to be in a relationship where it's terrible. No, relationships can work out. We need each other. We need each other to live in this world, to get ahead in the world. I've done the alone time in my life, so I know it's much nicer when you're with someone. It's much more fun, and it really complements, especially for those days that are not good, right? You can have bad days. So yeah, I think that this exploration really straightens out. I could say it brings clarity to the mind, but I really believe it brings clarity to the heart. And when the heart's clear, the mind can be clear. When the heart's clear, also your gut brain needs to be clear as well. So when you start to see that, you're better able to use all of the elements that exist within you. And if you don't know the elements, fairy tales will also help you explore those elements.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Like, would a person have to share their personal stories during the discussion?
no,
No.
no, we don't share. You don't have to share it all. That's up to the individual, but there's no need. What you're doing is really exploring the story, and you have your own personal relationship. Because if you have 10 people, you could share, but there could be, if we end up having 300 people, you can't have everyone sharing. You've got to be sharing in the interactive of what the experience is, and that experience would be based on, your experience,
Yeah, for sure.
right? That happens quite often, where excuse me, where we definitely, I always find that students, even the most secretive students, are the ones who reveal most what they're like. And it's in what they focus on, or the words that they use. And you don't have to tell anyone anything about your personal life, but we tend to show it anyway. I don't know why I'm telling you that, but I just find it so fascinating that we're we're able to reveal ourselves just through words.
Yeah, absolutely. You might have touched on this already, but like, how would you say the archetypes within the fairy tales help us think more clearly and get past the sort of the noise within us?
Well, we know what an archetype's like. Yeah, so if you think of the, not the good witch as in Glinda, but you think of an evil witch,
Mhm.
right? And think of Hansel and Gretel. And I think they've changed the story quite often into, oh no, they haven't done it for that one. It's actually their mother that is the one who puts them out into the forest,
Yeah,
right?
it depends what version you have. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can always think about in those archetypal patterns, well, how do I embody that? And how do I overcome it?
Yeah.
And what are the consequences in relationship to others? And what are the things that we were hurt by? So, very often, a parent can be jealous of their child, right? They can very quickly, let's say, sorry, the best one probably is Snow White,
Mhm.
where the queen is actually her mom. That's the one. Sorry. That's the one where the queen is her mother. And most stories have changed it to a queen, but it's actually her mother. And her mother wants this beautiful child with red lips because she cuts her finger, the blood goes on the snow. So she wants a child with the skin as white as snow and lips as red as her blood. And she gets it. She gets exactly, it's almost like be careful what you wish for, you're going to get it. So it's very often the mother, this is one interpretation, you can think of other ones. The mother gives birth to a child, and the child is an extension of her. So if everyone loves my child, thinks my child is beautiful, they think I'm beautiful, right? And in this case, you could say, well, that didn't work out for her. The child's too beautiful, and the mirror doesn't say she's beautiful. The most beautiful in the land says Snow White is. So now she's got to eliminate the competition, right? And this is a massive story in all of the different competitive tendencies of women. We don't compete the way men do. We compete in very different ways, and usually it's about male attention. That's how we compete. It's very important. You could say we've grown out of it. I don't think so. We're always competing for the person who has the best resources, and that's part of nature. We can never forget we're animals. We tend to say, I'm not an animal. No, we can make a choice not to act like an animal. You can make a choice not to act like the evil stepmother. You can make a choice not to perform Munchausen by proxy, meaning making your child sick so you get all the attention, right? You can do all those things, uh, do your best, but we know that it can occur and that we need to kind of look at ourselves and be able to grow out of it, much like Pinocchio. Now I've mixed all the stories together because I think they're all indicative of different phases in our lives and exactly what we need to do or not do. Did I answer your question? I hope I did.
I think so. I'm
Yeah, the
just
archetypal patterns, because we've got them all in us, right?
Yeah, and I'm kind of thinking like, well, what would you say the difference is between passively hearing the story versus actively working with a tale as a tool for our own insight?
Well, I passively listened to a lot of stories, and they spoke to me. But until I spoke what I was thinking, so I suppose we could quote Jordan Peterson, or we could quote a lot of scientists. When you write, let's say you write about the story, or you write about your life, you're going to have a different understanding than if you just think about your life. The same with speaking. So when you're speaking, you're able to speak your ideas. And many times our ideas are crummy, right? I've had a lot of ideas that have come out of my mouth because my mind had them, but I haven't figured them out yet, right? I haven't figured everything out. So I speak, and not just me, one speaks to sort through, to figure out what you're thinking. So you hear a story, you're thinking a lot of things, but how do you know exactly what you're thinking?
Yeah.
And how do you know exactly what that all means? Well, we've been given something no other species have been given. We're able to speak in these words, and
Mhm.
those words can bring something beautiful. It's just like um, I'm very guilty of this. I have all these ideas, and instead of writing them down, I would read a lot of books and I'd listen to other people and go, well, they have my idea. I'm not going to write about it.
Yeah.
It's only recently that I've gone, oh my God, everybody has the same ideas. It's just the way they express them is different. And the expression of them, the writing down or the speaking, is not about giving it to anyone else. It's about you being able to understand what you're thinking in your own way. It's just a different piece of the puzzle, right? So each of us having the ability. So the people, let's say they're people who don't speak in class, that's fine. But it's a good idea to go write down your ideas afterwards.
Mm.
It's a good idea to maybe talk about them. Usually, even quiet people, they'll often go, oh, I took this class and we were talking about this and I saw that. Then there's some people who won't share, but will be angry. I disagree with everyone inside. I disagree with everyone. They don't know what they're talking about.
I know better.
And then they'll go off and talk about it. But it's good that they talked about it. Hopefully they'll be able to understand that everyone's got a pretty decent idea of what's going on
Yeah.
in their own way, but we're evolving as a group the entirety of what's going on, and that sharing that different perspective, that 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 view that just comes from a tiny different angle, it just really opens up our eyes, because we don't have a big enough brain to hold every possible view. But I can see it and I can listen and go, oh my God, yeah, I missed that. I didn't see that. And when you've missed something, it allows you to go, wow, now I'm seeing my life a little bit more richly, right? So here's another way of looking at it. You can be very efficient in life, right? So efficiently, I could do, let's say, speed read a story, uh, learn to read. So I'm just getting all the words down and the meanings, and I know the story. Okay. But if you think back to when you were a kid and before efficiency became important, I remember I could read books and it was so 3D alive. Everything, the clothes, the face, everything was alive. Now I go and read a story, I'm like, oh, well, that was really boring. It's not alive anymore. So I heard Jordan Peterson say the same thing, and I went, oh my God, that's exactly what I've been feeling. And he said, efficiency, uh, the need for efficiency, we lose the richness. The richness of things. So I thought, oh, I wonder if I could change that. So that's one of the things, that's one of my objectives for myself, not for anyone else, for the fairy tales class, is to begin to have that richness again. The richness of seeing things a little bit greater, instead of having I need to get to the end of this. I was thinking, oh, well, we do a story each time. I don't think so. I think we might need, a couple of weeks, especially if it's Cinderella.
Yeah.
We might need weeks. I'm not even sure. Maybe we'll start with a short one and see, because there are quite a few long ones, and we would want to watch the movie, right? So I'm not sure. I wanted to talk to you about that too. This is a little technical, but should we watch Cinderella? There is a version out there, the Rodgers and Hammerstein version.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, we could watch that one week, and then the next week we could talk about it. But it would take a couple of hours, right? It's going to take a couple of hours to watch it. So it's available. So I think I could tell everyone,
Yeah, that would be really cool.
watch it for homework.
Yeah,
we could do that, and even I don't know if I'm allowed to show Pinocchio, and but we could read the Pinocchio story and go
And we
through that.
might need more than two discussions on some of them.
Oh my God, yeah, it's long. It's long
Like
because we want to go through
who would
each.
you say it's for? Like who do you think would be best suited for doing this course?
I think the thing I would say is anyone who wants to, have some fun, talk, explore, meet up in community too. Don't forget, we're a community once we get together in class, and we're going to go on for, I don't know how many weeks we'll do it for. We haven't We haven't stated right now, it's indefinite, but you know, if there's no if there's interest, we can go a lot longer, we can expand it, we could do it more often, especially in the, you know, in the months where people are less busy.
Yeah.
So
Good time to
um pardon
be.
me,
It's a good time of year to go
it
inward.
really is a good time to do it. And the the I think it's also it's good for anyone who's got a good imagination, anyone who feels like they really don't know what's going on, like they haven't really um, understood how the human operates. Uh, you know, we understand our bodies, we understand, you know, this is what's in my head, but we don't really understand the world of all of our characters. We usually believe we are the thing that we are doing,
Yeah.
but you can't be in action. You can only perform an action. You can't be an archetype. You can only embody it for a short period of time. So you know this person that I am, as we all are, you know, steps into all these different characters. And I think when you're struggling with your own character, the one you think you are, and you want to be something else, this is really the class to kind of go, wait a minute, I am, then I can play any role that I would like to play at any time. So here I am talking to Chantry. So Chantry and I are friends. She's also someone who's been a student of mine. She's also contributes. She's working as coordinator for this class. She's a mom. She's a daughter. She's a chef, a cook, a healer. She makes herbs. I mean, which one is her? Well, none of them. They're just things she steps into, right? So when we're not attached to those roles and we understand how many roles there are in the world, and we can do any one as long as you want to do it. You could be a dancer one moment, you could be a singer the next moment, you can do whatever it is you'd like to do. And that I believe, because I believe that, you know, being told you can be whatever you want to be, well, yeah, sure. And I can be anything I want to be. So I can be the person talking now. I could get up and go do a jig. Sure, I can be anything I want to be. When it comes to how I'm going to live in the world and what I'm going to do for a living, well, I might not be able to be whatever I want to be.
Yeah.
I can pretend I'm an engineer, but you know, when I look at my partner who's a really good engineer, I was really good at calculus and math. When it came to physics, I don't know, my brain just dipped. So whatever part of my brain works with physics, I need to be explained all the time. When it comes to math, don't need to be explained. I get it. When it comes to people and how they operate and what their goals are and you know what their intentions are, I get it. I get it. I can get it. When it comes to telling someone you're acting like this and stop, I'm not good. I'm not good at all. So we know what we're able to do. Maybe we're conditioned to it. We could learn. We can wherever we have a weakness, we can go learn. But I think the fairy tales show us, hey, look, you're weak over there. Get up, pick up your bootstraps, stop being resentful, stop being jealous, like the story of Cain and Abel, right? So Cain is super jealous and resentful. And what does he do? He kills his brother. And then you walk around the rest of your life with the mark of Cain. You know, some people might have that objective and they go, that's what I want to be, right? And we do have a problem right now where fairy tales have um, been flipped around, where the villain, yeah, the villain is now considered the hero. And I personally find that very distressing, right? So as much as you would see people trying to prevent online bullying and bullying in school, then the kid goes out and watches movies and the bully becomes the hero. This is so paradoxical to our nature. And it's very paradoxical to Cinderella, who's told to act well, right? So acting badly can become the virtuous, um, the perpetrator now becomes the victim. This is strange. This is very strange. We know it's wrong. We know that's not going to work. So these are things we could talk about in class. Is why is that wrong? I can give you reasons like, well, I don't want to hurt anybody. I just can't hurt anybody. I'm not going to go hurt someone so I have a better life. It's just why? No, I want to live well. I want to do things well. Now, somebody might argue with me, say, no, you should do bad things. And I'd be like, but historically, as humans, we created this incredible civilization, incredible, that we've never had it so good. And there are people out there who just go, let's destroy it. You have no idea what it could be like. So once humans say there could be evil, right? And it's okay to be evil, it's okay to be bad. The perpetrators are the good guys. If we say that and the downfall of this wonderful civilization occurs, we will find out the greatest archetype of all, how hard Mother Nature can be. Right? She's a tough cookie. Yeah, Father Sky is pretty tough too. But Mother Nature will just, yeah, she can just take us out in a second. I'm smiling because I just think it's so funny that we don't understand that we're animals and that we live in nature and we created something amazing. This society where we have conveniences, where, Chantry and I can talk even though we're in different provinces in Canada. We can be together. It's almost like I'm in the same room with her. This is amazing that we can go out and buy food. Now, if we destroy all of this, right? I think you're muted.
I muted myself because
Okay,
my
that's okay.
kids are being a little noisy.
That's okay. So
As you were talking about Mother Nature, I thought, well, the force of a 3-year-old is pretty strong too.
it sure it is. Well, it's natural nature,
Yeah.
and why would we be taught something moral through our fairy tales, through biblical stories, through mythology? Well, because the masculine and feminine, chaos is feminine, order is masculine. And we need to be walking the razor's edge between the tension of those opposites. We need both of them. I need chaos. I don't have chaos. I'm just going to be, the archetype that we see in sitcoms very often. I remember Golden Girls. It was such a great sitcom. They're all in their aerobics outfit with the little band and the rubber shiny clothing, and they would go over to the guy's house and walk in and go, "Come on, let's go work out." And there's the stodgy guy with his shirt, the V-neck buttoned down, eating his dry piece of toast, and it's falling on him, and he's just looking at them like they're crazy. Oh yeah, that's feminine and masculine. Masculine is this orderly, don't disturb me, and the feminine is disturbing. Now, if you let the feminine just go wild, she'll exhaust herself. She'll just like go away. And the masculine, if he stays, just in this dead zone, he'll pass away all by himself with nothing going on. Sounds good? All right. You know what
Sorry,
we'll do?
I was talking to
That's okay. You know what? So I hope that people get a lot of answers from this,
I hope so
and
too.
you know,
If you
uh,
have any questions,
yeah, send them in.
yeah,
We'll be happy to answer them. Okay.
yeah,
So thanks everyone. Hope you join us. We're looking forward to seeing you there, and yeah, we'll have lots of fun. It's gonna be fun.
yeah.
All right, guys.
Well,
Take
I
care.
look forward
Bye,
to
everyone. Bye, bye, Chantry. Bye, kiddos.
it. Bye, Terry.
Bye.